What's up, everybody? We are back in the garage. We got this beauty pulled in with a nice suntan. We let it sit for 3 days. I actually let it sit Sunday also, and now today I just finished washing it. Pretty much just kind of degreased the wheels and the rims. I did all the door jambs. I don't think this car has seen a wash in a while. I don't want to put a date on it, but it seems like it's been a while. I just clay barred this front end just to kind of get some of those bug guts off, because again, it seems like those bugs been down there for quite a while. So yeah, no soap and shampoo was gonna get that off, but we pretty much decontaminated the car with Dawn soap, and then we've clay barred the front bumper and then down these doors and on the other doors. It looks amazing. I mean, just washing it alone already just changes the whole car alone. Like, it already looks really nice. But we're gonna take it up a step further and we're gonna wet sand and polish the panels that we painted. So now the car's washed. I dried it, right? So we're trying to get any little sand off, so that way when we go with our sandpaper, we're not creating extra scratches. We're gonna go over it nice and carefully. We're gonna turn the fan off so we can listen. And any kind of little zipper sound, that means that you got sand under that paper. So pull off, flush it out, and then re-hit the area again. And you'll notice that when you polish, all your like 2000 grit marks will polish out, but then you'll have some you know, deep line like scratch, and most likely that was from some kind of sand inside your paper. I'm thinking of finishing off in 3000 grit, so I'm gonna 2000 grit everything, and then I'm gonna go back over everything in 3000 grit, and it's just gonna help the polishing process to be able to polish it out a lot easier, quicker. Let's get to it. We got our 2000 grit sandpaper. I normally like to cut it in half and then fold it like this in 3, and then I kind of grab it like this. For this car, we're not gonna use a sand block. We're just gonna do some hand sanding. We're not trying to get this like a super glass finish. We're just gonna do a nice light hand sand to get everything smooth and flat. And it's really for the dirt nibs, but this will also help that orange peel and that texture. So it will kind of smooth it out, but not as dramatic as like using a sand block or something, you know, some kind of pad inside there. You'll be very happy with the results. But there is some differences, and I do talk about that more like deeper into like the courses and the 34-step course, like the different levels of wet sanding. But in this case, we're gonna keep it pretty simple, just 2000 grit, our hand. So we're gonna start off with 2000 grit. I got my spray bottle, and I did put a drop of soap in it. I normally don't, but I don't know, lately I have been adding a drop of soap and seeing if I see any difference. I don't know, the whole idea is to like not clog your paper, but as long as you use water, you don't really need soap, so that's not a deal breaker. Now I turn the fan off because I want it to be quiet. I don't got my headphones on, I don't got the radio on, because we want to make sure that our panel is clean. So it's good to always wet, kind of pre-soak your paper. Just kind of back and forth, and you want to listen. Just keep on wetting it. And if you hear any, that's normally like sand and dust. So just kind of keep flushing it out. And if you hear that kind of scratching sound, just kind of pull off. Oh, and then I get my squeegee, my favorite squeegee right here. And then sometimes I'll hose it down, and then I'll squeegee it, just if there's any sand or anything, try to get it off. And then I'll go back, and then you see how it's kind of like, you can see the texture in the orange peel. It means it ain't smooth yet, so we're gonna keep on going. We're gonna try to get all that nice and smooth. That sometimes on your clear, you wash the car, you clay bar the car, and you take all the contaminants, but still, like, incredit into the clear, you have these little speckles of dust and debris and sand, and as you wet sand, you're kind of breaking those off and they're kind of getting loose. That's where the whole flushing out. So even on a new panel, this was like soft clear. I live on a dirt road, it's raining, that little bit of dust kind of bites in, and then again you're washing and your clay bar, you didn't take it off. So as you start wet sanding, those little crumbs start to kind of come out, and sometimes you can hear them. It might not be like a loud zzz because it's not like a piece of sand or a rock, but it's just like very little light ones. So that's where you have to just kind of go listening and just keep on back and forth, you know, listening and working it and flushing it, and a lot of flushing it. All right, so now we start kind of looking at it. We have a shiny spot here, so that's a spot that hasn't got hit, so we'll have to touch that up. And then you see these little shiny spots there, those were most likely little chips that this thing had. And even though they got filled in with a little bit of fine glaze, everything kind of shrinks. So those little spots there, now we should have enough clear, but I'm not gonna jeopardize the clear over those little chips. We're gonna wet sand it a little bit more, and then we're gonna blend it out, and you most likely would very rarely ever see that. We could wet sand it down further and get it smooth, and therefore it's like glass and you don't see that. But now again, you're minimizing that clear. So instead of having that nice thick layer of protection, you're now on a very fine line. And this car is not garage kept. It's not a daily, but it's almost a daily. It's kept outside. This hood is gonna get a lot of Florida sun. I wouldn't want to jeopardize the clear. Let me see if I can show you guys. Right there, that's a little dirt nib. So you see how like the center is sanded, but then it has like a ring around the shiny. That's a dirt nib. So that we're gonna hit a little bit more. And then here we have a little bit of like texture, orange peel. So again, we need to wet sand this here just a little bit more. The same with here. So yeah. So this, and then this part here looks pretty good. And then here also we find another dirt nib here. We see one that's about to get hit right here. So this is really what we're wet sanding for, is for those dirt nibs, and then also just to get that smooth gloss look, trying to wet sand some of this texture out and get it to be nice and slick and glass. I'm gonna, ever since I can see everything, I'm gonna start off low and I'm gonna start touching up these spots and work my way up like that, or I'll break it into sections. So I'll probably finish going up here and do this one section, and then do the center, and then do the other side, and then I'll just do wet sanding the whole thing. Then I'll squeegee it, then I'll touch up, squeegee it, do another little bit of touch up, squeegee it once I'm good, then I move over to the next section. So that's pretty much it on this part, which we have entered the part 4, the wet sanding and polishing. This is the final step of the paint and body work of the 34-step course. This is the last part. This is past your body work, past the prepping, and now we've passed the painting. So everything's already done, the painter's done. Normally the painter's the one that takes care of this polishing work, but it depends. There's some shops that I've heard that the detailers are the ones that take care of the polishing work. Yeah, so we're finally in part 4, the wet sanding and polishing, and this is how we're starting off. So hang in there. I'm gonna knock this hood out and this front end, and then we'll do some touch-ups and we'll jump in and out. So hang in there. So I hit this fender, and just kind of to show you the first pass, I pretty much went over everything, and I kind of did a D-nib, right, where we just hit those little dirt nibs with 2000 grit. The same with up here, right, I just kind of D-nib it. And then this top piece here, it wasn't bad, but it had like 2 dirt nibs, plus to make it match the hood, since this is all wet sanded and this not, I went ahead and just hit this top piece. And you can see here that I still have a little bit of a dirt nib there that I gotta hit a little bit better. And then here, over here is very nice and kind of smooth and glassy, so there's really no need to like wet sand any orange peel off. And as you can see here, as it kind of like fades away, it's not so bad, right? And then we got a dirt nib right there, and then as you see, if we come over here, it's more tight. So here was a little bit more like orange peely, more dry. So here we're gonna hit this a little bit better and just kind of smooth this area out here, and then we'll hit this dirt nib a little bit better. So almost everything you have to go over by passes. The same with body work, the same with prep work. And I guess the same with the paint work. Like you have to just kind of go one pass, a second pass, and then normally if you're really good, you just do 2 passes and you're done. If not, you might have to go that 3rd pass just to tweak and tune and just kind of get that as close to, you know, as perfect as you can. So I'm gonna go back over this with a 2nd pass, and then I'm gonna jump over on that fender, knock that fender out, and then from there 3000 grit this whole front end. I like to use this 3M one here. This is my favorite, except this stuff has gotten crazy overpriced. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is really good stuff, way better than any aftermarket stuff that I've used, but it's just crazy expensive, man. I really, it hurts me to spend $10 on one sheet of 3M paper. At least that's my price at the local paint store. Could be more or less if you get it online, I'm not sure. But Jesus, 1 year ago they were like $5 a piece. Now they're $10 a slice. Anyways, there's not much to it. It's really just blow out your DA as best as you can. You could do it by hand. You could DA 2000 grit instead of hand sand it. I personally like to hand sand 2000 grit because I can hear and kind of feel everything as I'm going. And kind of like what I talked about at the beginning, that when you have like little contaminants, like little debris that's kind of like bit into the clear, you start wet sanding and those things start to kind of come out, or little crumbs, you know, things start to come out. And when you have a paper, you can feel it, you can hear it a lot better and easier than with the DA kind of going off. You don't really hear none of those sanding. And then what happens is that after you're done 2000 gritting everything looks good, because you're just looking for those little orange peel shiny spots, but you have a whole bunch of sand grit scratches underneath. So then when you come to polish, or let's say now you do 3000 grit, those sand grit scratches are still there. Now you polish, now it's starting to polish out nice, but you see a whole bunch of these like kind of lines, and it's from that sand debris. So I like to go hand sand first and just kind of keep it flushed out and go listening and feeling. And then now that I know that everything is completely clean and there really is no sand or debris, everything has been squeegeed and wiped down multiple times, now I feel a little bit more comfortable going back in it with the 3000 grit. And this here is very cushiony. I don't know if you can see, it's pretty thick. It's a very cushion. If you get a sand in there, it kind of helps it to kind of spit it out, you know, sink it in there without like scratching deeply, but it still will scratch. So if you do have some sand in there, it will scratch. That's why you don't want to put this flat on your table. I normally kind of put it upside down. I unplug it and then put it upside down. But you want to keep it clean. You're same with your hands. You don't want to be kind of touching your hands on the floor and then grabbing the paper. You know, keep all of those things in mind. Now even doing the 3000 grit, like, you know, doing 2000 by hand and then 3000 over it is pretty good. But sometimes if again you happen to touch it or whatever, you could get a spot where you'll have some scratches, and then you have to go back over it with 2000 grit and then 3000 grit and get those scratches out. So keep that in mind, a little tip right there for you. But since we know everything's pretty clean, it's nothing but just kind of hose this thing down, hose your panel off, and just go to town. And you put some nice pressure, a little medium pressure, back and forth.